All right, hi Jamie. This is Miss Lee here, and apologize for my voice. I'm just under the weather right now, suffering through a cold. It'll pass soon. But I wanted to show you how to do this question. Okay, so step 1 and 2, we are, step 1. Let's start with step 1 in this example. What we're doing is we're factoring out a common factor from the numerator and the denominator. Okay. So looking at our numerator, we've got 16x minus 8x squared. We can start with the number first. So between 16 and minus 8, we can factor out a 8, right? So if we factor out 8 from the numbers, we can also factor out, looking at the x and the x squared, we can factor out an x. So I'm going to factor out 8x. 16x divided by 8x, I'm left with 2. Minus 8x squared divided by 8x, I'm left with minus x. Okay. And then in my numerator, looking at the 6 and the 12, minus 12 actually, I can factor out a 6. Looking at the x squared and the x, I can factor out another x. 6x squared divided by 6x, I'm left with x. Negative 12x divided by 6x, I'm left with a minus 2. Okay, so that's how you get step 1. And step 2 is when we stated our non-permissible values, our NPVs. And that is x cannot equal to 0 and x cannot equal to 2. Okay, so step 3. What you have mentioned in your message, those exponents for 8 and 6, they're actually not exponents. What we're doing here is we're finding a common factor between 8x and between 6x, right? So the common factor between 8 and 6 is a 2, right? So I can divide it by 2 from 8, and I can divide it by 2 from 6. Right, so once I do that, I am left with 4 at the top, and I'm left with 3 at the bottom, right? So those 4 and 3 that you thought were exponents are actually the numbers we have remaining after we divided by the common factor between the 8 and the 6, right? And similarly, when we factor out an x from the top and an x from the bottom, we divide out the x. Right? So all we have left from this term right here, 8x over 6x, when it is reduced, all we have is 4 over 3 because the x's have divided out, right? So, okay, going back to our examples here. So 8x over 6x, I'm left with 4, 2 minus x, and I'm left with 3x minus 2 at the bottom, okay? But looking at 2 minus x and x minus 2, we know that they are just minus 1 of, like the factor is minus 1, right? So what I mean by that is they're kind of reversed. So if we multiply or divide, actually, if we divide by a negative 1 from the top or from the bottom, it doesn't matter. In your example there, they factor out a minus 1 at the top, right? So if I factor out minus 1, then my 2 divided by negative 1, I'm left with negative 2. Negative x divided by negative 1, I'm left with plus x, right? So that's what we have at the top. And we're just going to copy down what I had at the bottom. And we know that minus 2 plus x is the same thing as x minus 2. Right? So that's how we were able to divide out those two terms again. And let me use a different color pen. So that term and that term, they divide out. So what we have left is negative 4 over 3. And that is what you have. That's your answer. So the simplified rational expression is minus 4 over 3 or negative 4 over 3. And remember your non-permissible values. Again, you got to state those in your answer. Okay? Let me know if you have any questions.